And we're back. Hafeman Bros, Friday night. Let's get it right out of the way here before we get into some sports talk. Tonight, I am having Belgian, and this is a little different. The last time I got Belgian from Delta Beer Lab, it didn't say with black currants as well. So tastes a little different. It's kind of Nick. I left one of these at your house. Did you try it yet?
No.
It's pretty good. It's like I don't know. I can't describe it very well, but it's good. I'll say that.
Can we try it?
It's even better when you drink out of this glass right here. And for my birthday, I got a new Buck shirt.
Woohoo!
My wife also signaled by getting the size that she wants me to lose a little weight. So,
well, it's a little subtle message.
I gotta pay attention, right? When she buys you a medium, you gotta be like, medium? Whoa. Are you trying to say something here?
I think so.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong. No, she said the large in this, whatever one looked humongous. So she got this one. I'm like, I know, but I got like this chest. Cause we got the Hafeman chest. Ben knows about the Hafeman chest. It just like fills out a shirt. Even if it's kind of flabby or you're not really doing, doing, push-ups or you're not doing bench press or anything. It's always there. The Hafeman chest is always there. Right, Ben?
Are you saying I have man boobs? Is that what you're trying to get at?
He is, but he's saying it's not your fault.
Listen,
maybe a little man boobs, yeah. Okay.
I am a 200 and almost 220 pound man at 5'11 and a half.
Whew.
But I have the arms. I have the arms of a 130 pound man, and the legs of a 120 pound man. So that means I have the gut and man boobs of a 290 pound man. I don't know how that works, but that's when you add it all up and subtract and do the different things. I think that's how it is.
At that size, you should try out for a Packers inside linebacker camp.
I'd be better than half the guys I got.
We'll see. We'll see about that.
I'm just as fast as Christian Kirksey was last year.
Oh, Christian Kirksey. He's on Houston now, so it's okay. We got Bucks correspondent here tonight. Nico, when we need Bucks talk, we go to our official Bucks correspondent who also was at the game on Wednesday night. He totally ditched me on my birthday so he could see the Bucks in the finals. What kind of crap is that? What do you have to say for yourself, Nick McFarland?
You didn't invite me over, so I had to find something else to do. And I figured I might as well go watch some basketball.
If you had a chance to do that, that was awesome, man. I was like, holy crap. I kind of thought in the morning, I'm like, Nick text me happy birthday like right away. I think he's going to the Bucks game tonight. Getting it out of the way so you don't have to worry about it. Because, hey, if you're in the middle of all that stuff, you can slip your mind, so you got it out right away. And then I saw your picture. Jim Paschke, I saw your seats. So you got to see Oscar, the Big O, and Kareem as well.
And A-Rod.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's really exciting.
The baseball player, not the football player.
Right.
Yeah, he isn't going to be there.
He was not there. So Darius Smith was, who seems like a humongous Bucks fan because he was going nuts the whole game. And I think he's been at like the last 3 games I went to.
Wow.
Wasn't Bakhtiari there with his dad or something?
I think game 3, I think he was there.
Well, it was game 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Game 4, I was there. There was Dave Chappelle was there. And also
really?
Chris Tucker was there, who I don't know. I haven't seen Chris Tucker in a while, so it was good to see that he was at the NBA Finals. Dave Chappelle was sitting right next to Michael Redd, Bucks legend, legendary. He was their leading scorer for several seasons in a row back in the day.
That's true.
I don't know if they went together, if they were just in the front row together, but they were sitting right next to each other there in the front row.
Your team was not particularly good during the Red years, so he got to score a lot of points.
He was like a little bit worse Chris Middleton if there was no Giannis or Lopez or Drew. Kind of a floundering team. It was a great game, one of the most fun times I think I've ever had. I took my son. which is awesome for him because there's a great chance I'll never be alive for another 45 years to see the Bucks make the finals. So it gives him a chance to maybe see two finals in his lifetime. But he was really into it. We were on the right behind the basket. Well, I mean up rows, but behind the basket where the Suns were shooting free throws in the first half. So we had those bang sticks, thunder sticks, and he was going wild with them. And we did have they pass out those big heads of people that wave in the crowd. I don't like them. but I had a Jim Paschke head. I know one of your favorites is Jim Paschke. I held it up for the first set of free throws that the Suns took, and then none of the subsequent free throws because the person in front of me also had one of those big heads, and I couldn't see anything when he was holding it up. And so I realized that the people behind me probably couldn't see anything when I was holding it up. So I didn't want to be a jerk. So yep, that's it.
There it is.
I had one of those big heads that you're supposed to wave to and fro to distract the other team if they can't handle looking at Jim Paschke when they shoot. But I mean, that's like 10 times bigger than a normal head. You can see my hand there on it. It was like the person in front of me also had one that was bigger than that, and I couldn't see anything. So I'm like, these aren't that great.
Hey, Paschke, you got to give him mad respect. He held down the job for decades. I mean, my whole lifetime, he's been the Bucks TV announcer guy, the job that I was always hoping to get. Every time I thought he would retire, he just kept going. Then he kept going for like another 15 years. So, hey.
His old partner was also in the building.
That's
John
right.
McLaughlin, the Mac Fun master.
That's right. Yeah, he was there too. What was it like, man? What was it like to be there? I mean, I know you kind of said it, but just give us like, what was the energy like? What was it like to be in that arena and the Bucks in the finals in such a crucial game?
I've been to several Bucks games over the years. I was even at a playoff game a few years back. There was nothing like how it was last night. Or I mean, not last night, Wednesday night. The crowd was loud almost the entire game. We were standing in my section. We were standing pretty much the whole second half. I mean, people were just cheering and hitting the sticks. There was a few Suns. There was probably a few too many Suns fans in the building, but not that many. But they were a vocal minority, and they tried doing the 10 count on Giannis, and everybody was getting all mad. And then they started an MVP chant to drown out the 10 count chant. So I don't know if that came through on TV or not, but the reason that they were shouting MVP when you were shooting free throws is because the Sun fans were trying to get the 10 count going. I was telling my son before the game, I'm like, I hope it's a blowout because I don't know if I could take a close game because it's going to give me a heart attack.
Oh my God.
And then sure enough, it was 99-99 with a little bit of time left. So we were going nuts. I don't know what the TV announcers are saying, and I don't know if you guys watched it on the free stuff or if you watched it on ABC, but there was some questionable calls in the game. I don't know if you want to talk about all that now, but Jay Crowder in particular, who went to Marquette, so he should have a little bit of a Milwaukee following, but it seemed like no one was touching him, and he was holding his head like he had been shot, and the crowd is really, really letting him have it. And I think that in fact, I think of the whole night, the loudest they probably were is when he shot those free throws, because they were just booing the ever loving snot out of him because it seemed like he wasn't even touched. Then he just like lay down and just like roll like this. And it was like, it's one thing if you flop, but to just lay there like you got hit in the head when you didn't, I don't even know where you learn stuff like that. But it was crazy to see that kind of stuff. And then we were sitting where in the second half, the Bucks were coming towards us so you could see everything that was happening. And really early on, I told my son, I'm like, man, sitting where we're sitting right now, I'm going to be seeing all these fouls that are not going to get called, and I'm going to get so mad. Because even when it's on TV, like we were pretty close and pretty straight on to the basket, so that we could get real good looks. So like when people are going for layups and get smashed and all that, you could see it all. And so when Booker had 5 fouls, and then they had that fast break, or he intentionally fouled Holiday. Like, he's like, I don't want him to get the shot off, so I'm going to hit him as hard as I can, maybe be a flagrant foul, but I'm going to make sure he doesn't score this basket. And then it was just a no call. And I was like, what are you talking about? It was like an intentional, he fouled him on purpose. Like, it was a one-on-one play right underneath the basket, no one else around them. And he didn't try to hide it. I'm surprised he didn't put his hand up like, yeah, that was me. Because like, he fouled him on purpose. He's like, I am going to foul on this play to prevent the basket. If that's not a foul, I don't know whatever could be a foul in the history of basketball. Because he did it, he intentionally did it in front of everyone. And there's no call. And he had 5 fouls at that time. And I'm just like, what? Like, are you serious? Like me, I didn't know the guys behind me or anything. And they're just like, are you even like, are you being real right now? Are you kidding me that was not a foul? I don't understand.
He hugged him. He had both arms wrapped around him. Like you said, he was in the air, wrapped both arms around him. I mean, what if Giannis wasn't running the floor and trailing the play to score the basket right there? And what if the Suns get that loose ball? Like, come on. That's crazy, man.
I mean, he was going for a layup, which he, struggles with sometimes, but all of a sudden the ball, like, he didn't like release the ball. Like, he got turned around the other way and like just kind of dropped the ball. And it's like, what do you think happened in this situation? He didn't get anywhere near touching the ball. Did you think it was a block? Like, what? I don't understand what the justification was. Like, I went back and watched it on like the clip now, and the TV announcer was like, "Oh, that's a foul." That's wait a minute, they didn't call it a foul. Like, it's like, that was, of course, it was a foul.
I don't know if you heard Holiday. He was asked about it post game too, and he was just like, I don't know, man. He like didn't know what to say to that at all. Because if he says anything, he get fined or get in trouble or whatever. But he's just like, he just basically punted on that, put his hand up, and was like, I don't know. Shook his head. Hey, Bernard, how you doing, man? Bernard's around. How you doing?
Hey, Bernard. Booker was basically their whole offense too. So, and at that point, that was a super, super, super tight game. And I'm like, if this comes down to like a tie or a 1-point game and Booker hits a 3 to win it after he should have fouled out, like, I don't know if the rest would have made it out of there. Like, the people were just going nuts. Then he had another foul after that.
Yep.
The one on when it was 101 to 99, and he fouled Middleton. Like, it looked like intentionally too. Like, it looked like Middleton had a clear path to the basket, and then he just went over there and whacked him. And then Middleton made it, and the crowd is cheering. And then you can't hear anything in the arena. Like, everybody's just going nuts. And I'm like, that was an and one too, right? Like, I was looking at the guys behind me again. I'm like, that was like, he fouled him again right there, right? Like, that was his 8th foul, and then that should have been a +1.
They just decided, the officials just decided that nobody's fouling out, so anything from here on out is not a foul.
Yeah, so. And I mean, I don't know if overall it was a crazily bad ref game, but the Crowder fake a couple times, and then Booker having 2 fouls at least after he had 5 fouls was rough, because it was a tight game.
I got to say this quick about Crowder. The other, so he does that where maybe he gets, poked.
He got hit in the head. He got hit in the head.
Yeah, he got poked.
He definitely milked that sucker for all he could. I mean, it wasn't that bad.
I mean, we know he does all the stuff. I mean, he flops around, he exaggerates. He tries to work the refs and work the calls all the time. But then the other thing he does, other than that, is on the complete opposite side. He will foul the crap out of somebody. I mean, he's got his arms raked over the guy's arms, and then he looks back at the officials like, oh, what? Oh. Yeah. Like, dude, come on. How can you do that, honestly?
Bernard, I look old because I am old.
Oh.
And also because I've been up since 4 a.m. and haven't slept yet, and I'm tired, so I don't give a crap.
I got a couple of key points I want to get to about the Bucks game, and we got to ask, because Nick was there. So I want to know what it was like. But I also think there were some really interesting plays and really smart plays down the stretch. So obviously the Bucks, we all know what they did. They did dumb stuff for a while. Holiday shot terribly again. Like, all these same things happened. Everybody was like down on them. It was a rough game, but they kept fighting. They kept battling. They kept hanging around, and they kept playing hard, right? And then Middleton got going. Then Giannis made a bunch of really smart plays, like really smart plays. And then I got to say it, probably the loudest I was until Giannis's block was when Super Pat hit the 3-pointer to give them their first lead late in the fourth quarter. Oh my God. Super Pat. He was
That was awesome. No doubt.
Dude, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The crowd loves Bobby Portis. I like Bobby Portis too. He doesn't necessarily light up the stat sheet so much compared to how much the crowd is loving him. Because as soon as he's walking over the scores table, the crowd's just cheering Bobby. Now I know again he didn't have I think he only had a couple baskets, but the one 3-pointer, right?
Yep. Really.
And then Tucker played tough again and had no points again. I think he only took one shot, but he had a bunch of offensive rebounds and he battles and all that. So it's a real fun Bucks team because they're scrappy. They fight. They get in there for the offensive boards. They don't always make the putbacks, but they get in there for the boards. And then I do have to give a little bit of credit to Coach Bud, who people are critiquing his ability to make adjustments throughout the playoffs. In game 2 we watched, and the Suns, we talked about it last week. The Suns had so many corner threes, a lot of them wide open. They didn't have that Wednesday night. I think game 2 they made 12 corner threes, and I think this last Wednesday, I think they only took like 3 corner threes. So the Bucks made some adjustments. Bud made some adjustments. They took away those wide open corner threes, which made a big difference.
The other part is, like I said, the Bucks just kept playing, and even though stuff wasn't going right, a lot of stuff wasn't going right. I mean, Middleton. Okay, here's what I said. I'm not trying to say I know too much, but maybe I was lucky on this one. But I said Middleton's got to shoot 45%. He's got to shoot around like 45% for the Bucks to win, for this to work. Bernard, we'll get into a little bit of Packers stuff. I don't know what's going on with the Rodgers drama. I'm not paying attention to it currently because I'm focused on the Bucks, but we'll get to Packers a little bit too. But Chris Middleton he didn't start out shooting great, but then by the end of the game, and he shot great in the fourth quarter. He kept making his Middleton plays, Middleton shots, all that sort of good stuff. And by the end, his percentage was 45.5%. So that just tells you he shoots 45%. That's pretty good for the Bucks. Now, Drew Holiday, 4 out of 20. Well, 4 out of 19, because he was totally fouled on that one by Booker. It shouldn't have been a shot attempt. That shouldn't have counted. So he's 4 out of 19 and 0 of 5 from 3-point range. And most of the other ones are layups. So I don't know what's going on with him, but man, he's got to finish. And the whole time I'm sitting there like, I'm like, okay, Holiday, you can do other stuff. You got to do something. You got to impact the game here late, because you're too experienced of a player. You can still impact the game. And he got a huge offensive rebound and a huge defensive rebound late.
Yeah.
So kind of then I forgave him a little bit for all his terrible shooting. But
I think that his defense, where he's picking up Paul like at half court or even beyond a little bit, I don't think Paul's 100%. I'm sure he'll talk about it after the series if they lose, about how he wasn't 100%. But I think that the pestering, he's not necessarily getting a steal or whatever, but the pestering is wearing on Paul as the series goes on. I think it's throwing him off his game a little bit.
It's the same thing with Booker. I said once they started getting more physical with him. In game 3, they were really physical with him. This game is kind of like they weren't as physical with him, but he was super good. He was super efficient, super effective. I mean, Pat Connaughton was playing great D on him a whole bunch, but
there was a stretch. There was a stretch there where Pat was all over him, and and Booker just hit every damn shot. But when you look at his percentage at the end of the game, it seemed like it was going to be like 60% or something, but it wasn't that good. So, I mean, it all goes in spurts, right? Like Booker had his spurt in the third quarter, and then Middleton had his in the fourth quarter, and that was the difference, really. So, I don't know. It was exciting to watch it at home, and I gave up when Booker kept hitting all those shots, I was like, what else can we do? I mean, like they're covering him perfectly. And even like they're doing a better job on the pick and roll. The story of the game, in my opinion, the number one stat is 17 offensive rebounds to 5 offensive rebounds.
Yep.
And 17 turnovers to only 5 turnovers for the Bucks. Those are the two lines that the exact same stat, opposite, and both of them in the good category for the Bucks. And that's how they won. And then also they needed Middleton to just go crazy in the fourth quarter. They were screwed because they have no other, they don't run the play. You know, they had better ball movement there where Pat had, you know, Pat made 3 threes, 3 out of 7 or whatever he was. And he had 11 points off the bench, but he had like 9 boards and 3 offensive rebounds. So he was doing great. Giannis was getting a bunch of rebounds. But they need to run a better offense. And like Giannis has got to stop. Like, what's it like, Nicole, when Giannis gets the ball at the 3-point line and he waits for a second and then he's like, yeah, what the hey, I'll throw up a 3. And then right after that, he goes down the next time, doesn't even pass, doesn't think about it, just throws up a 3. It's not even close. What are the fans' reaction to that?
So when like Middleton's shooting a 3 or Connaughton shooting a 3, everybody's like, you know, you clench up like, oh, he's going to make this. It's going to be huge. And then they, you know, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. When Giannis is lining up that 3, I mean, as much as we all love him, nobody's like thinking that he's going to make it. Everybody's kind of like, oh no. Like it's more like, you know, like you're hoping that he's going to hit it. And it's awesome when he does, but when he's not making them, everybody's just kind of like, there's probably a better thing you could be doing with the ball instead of that. No one has confidence in him making the 3-pointer, including the other team, which is why they let him do it all the time. You know, like whenever the team is just saying, hey, go ahead, you know, that's not a great sign. And they don't need him to shoot 3-pointers to be successful. You know, he could shoot 0 for 10 games in a row and they could win all those games. So it's enticing to him, and people think that big men have to shoot 3s to be, but they don't. You know, tons of big men have been successful in this league without shooting 3s. With his, and he was passing very well. He would have a triple-double if the Bucks didn't miss a couple of those easy shots. He was right there. But Ben, what you said, those 2 stats are the exact right 2 stats that I would say, because the Suns outshot the Bucks by a lot. I don't know what it ended up being for a shooting percentage, but I know late in the game it was like 52% for the Suns to like 38% for the Bucks. And the Bucks, it was like a tie game because of the offensive rebounds and the turnovers. The Bucks being you know, tighter with the ball and going after those rebounds, and the Bucks could have more offensive rebounds. Really, I mean, Giannis isn't 100%. I mean, he's playing great, and that block is going to go down as one of the best plays of the decade. But he's not 100% because I saw him a couple times not getting after a ball that he normally would have, and it's just because he's pushing it, but he's not, you know, going to die. You know, there's still 3 games left, or 3 games left. So they look pretty darn good. I think they got the big momentum going now. So this game's going to be, game 5s are always huge, but this one is really going to be, whoever wins this next game will be able to close out the series on their home floor.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. There's a couple of interesting things I wanted to bring up, and then I do want to hear what it was like. One other game moment. But so those things you guys said were totally straight on. Hey, Bernard, how you doing? Yeah, we need Drew to be a little better, for sure. But like I said about Holiday, if the shot's not going in, if he's not finishing well, then just be a facilitator, man. Just pass. He can still. The thing I like about him, which I said before about contrasting him to Bledsoe, is it seemed like Bledsoe always, especially in the playoffs, he was like, oh, he like went just too fast. He wouldn't slow down and get control of the ball and get control of himself, and then he would play terribly and miss a lot of shots. Holiday never seems to be playing too fast. He's always kind of under control most of the time. Sometimes he get a little sloppy with his dribble, just like some of the other guys, like Middleton too, and his passes. But he always seems to be like, hey, I got this. I can handle, I can regain control of the ball. I can take a bump from guys and not get thrown off and whatever. And if he does that and draws some attention and penetrates, kicks it out to Middleton, kicks it out to one of the guys for shots, throws it up to Giannis or Lopez on a cut. he can be super impactful in the game without taking 20 shots, and I want to see him take more like 12 shots, especially if the first handful aren't going in. But here's I've listened to a whole bunch of stuff. I watch a whole bunch of reaction and analysis of the game and all the, ex players and all the mainstream media. And there are two interesting things that I don't think I heard a lot of people talk about. Or actually, one of these I don't think I heard anybody talk about. But I immediately was like, oh my God, that's so smart. Number one, what you guys said about the turnovers and offensive rebounds, totally correct. However, the other really impactful and surprising thing for the Bucks the last two games, their free throw shooting percentage. They actually outshot the Suns in game 3, and they shot almost like 90% as a team in that game. And then in this game, game 4, they again were at like 83% as a team. Now, part of that is a bunch of other guys got there. Middleton got 8 free throws, was 7 out of 8. Holiday made his free throws. My man Brook was 6 for 6 from the line. All right. Get inside, Brook. Take those hacks because you're good at the free throw line. He's 80% foul shooter for his whole career. So the Bucks free throw percentage, way better than it's been as a team. And if they can keep that up, that's a huge, huge help. And the other thing is this. I talked about smart plays Giannis made. Now, he made, some really smart, great passes. He had 8 assists, could have had more, like Nick said. He made a bunch of great plays, wasn't forcing shots. I mean, here's a guy who went back-to-back 40-point games. Everybody's like, oh, well, Jordan did it 4 games in a row. Could you do it 4 games in a row? Some guys might press. Plenty of NBA players I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to get my 40 again tonight. I got 2 in a row. I'm just going to chuck them up and get all the shots I need to get to 40, right? But Giannis doesn't care. He doesn't care. So he kept making really good plays, assisting the ball, screening hard, like he said. And the other thing is, late in the game, when the Bucks were already in, like the Bucks were not in the bonus yet, right? Giannis goes on a drive, gets fouled, and instead of going for the shot, which he was obviously going for, he passes it after the contact. And he did that 2 times late in the game because he knows if he goes to the free throw line, that's not as good of a possession as the Bucks could have if they get a chance to set up and maybe get Middleton a shot or get somebody else a shot, and they're probably going to make it. So he did that 2 times late. Almost, they were like a possession apart, or it was like one possession, then maybe the next 2 possessions later, or 1 possession later, all of a sudden in the same situation, and he made the pass. So then it was a side out, and the Bucks got to set up their offense, and they scored. If they don't get that, and Giannis shoots free throws, they probably don't get where they were late in the game. So I was just like, dude, he's a superstar, awesome player, and he's everybody talks about his basketball IQ. That is incredible basketball IQ in the moment to be able to make those decisions and realize, hey, this is what's best for my team. So I'm going to pretend like I was passing there. Anybody else notice that? Because to me, I was like, super freaking smart, Giannis. Oh my God, that was awesome.
Yep. And you're, as the crowd too, you're with it is, when there's a foul and on Giannis and no free throws, nobody gets too mad about it. It's like, oh, yeah, let's get to the bonus and make something happen. But if Giannis doesn't shoot the free throws, that's okay. I do hope that is not, you said the last 2 games, well, that was at home. I hope that they can continue that on the road. Bucks got to win a road game here. So they Middleton hasn't had the best games on the road, and the free throws haven't been as good on the road. We got to do it. Got to do it in Phoenix, game 5.
The one thing I like about this team, though, is that, and that's what I think is different. I think they're just mentally tougher. I think they stick with it. I think, and Middleton said it too, like after the game. I think Giannis, certain guys were always wired that way, but they had other guys that probably weren't. But it seems like Holiday, too, doesn't really get rattled. Brook doesn't get rattled. Pat's always in it. Tucker's not getting rattled. Like, they're just going to keep playing. They're just going to keep playing. Like, things aren't going right. Okay, we're just going to keep playing hard. We're going to keep doing our thing. And look what happened. That's what this whole game was like. That's what game 4 was like, right? That first quarter wasn't great. Second quarter was better. There were Bookers going crazy in the third quarter. But they just stuck with it. They were like, all right, we're just going to keep playing. We're going to find our way back into this thing. And they did it. They stuck together, and that's what I think is different about this year's team, and that's why I believe. So, Nico, last thing. All right, go ahead, and then I got a last thing for you.
All right, my last thing then is we talked a lot, or you guys have talked a lot on this show about leadership and in other sports and other teams, who's the leader and does the best player have to be a leader and all that. Without question, Giannis is the leader of the Bucks. And they all look to him, not necessarily to make a 3-pointer at the buzzer or anything, but when there's a timeout, he's the one that's doing the rah-rah speech, and he's the one that's, keeping them loose before the games, and he's the one that is pounding his fist on the chair saying, let's go, guys, and all that stuff. He's without a question the leader of the team.
All right, Nico, last question for you, since you were at the game. What was it like when Giannis made the block?
Man, like I said, where we were sitting, we were like straight on with the basket. Now that was on the other side, but like when like a cool thing about sitting like right in the center on the end is that you can see the plays develop. You can see when Drew's going to the basket and Giannis is coming along on the wing, and there's going to be a pass that's going to lead to a dunk. You can see it ahead of time. You can, a basketball court's, obviously a lot smaller than a football field. You can see who's filling the lanes on a 3-on-2 fast break and all that kind of stuff. So when I saw on the other end that Booker was driving to the hoop and he lobbed it up to 8, and I'm like, oh my God, that's a sweet alley-oop that they're doing there. And then Giannis just came out of, I don't know what, it's amazing. It was unbelievable that he was covering Booker kind of as Booker was driving. The ball went over his head. He saw it and jumped. I told Vinny, I'm like, every time I tell this story, it's going to be higher, but I don't know if it was 11, 12, 13, 14 feet in the air to block that dang shot. A clean block too. No question that it was a clean all ball. Aiden's a big, strong dude, had 2 hands on it, and Giannis got up there and knocked it out of his hand. It wasn't a perfect lob. It gave an extra split second for Giannis to get there. But yeah, the crowd is already all staying on their feet, screaming defense, screaming everything. And then when he blocked that shot, I think everybody was just in shock. It was such an amazing athletic play. And good timing too. It wasn't just that he can jump high and fast. He timed it perfectly.
Yeah, it was, as you've probably all seen a bunch of replays of it, but I'll tell you what, the guys on the, like Mike Breen or whatever doing the play-by-play, he's like, this place is shaky. Like you could feel it. It was just, yeah. I'm sure it was doing that more than once, but that had to be the loudest and the craziest the whole place was all night.
We had seats that were right by the railing. There's a railing in front of us. There wasn't any seats in front of us. And then there's a little walkway in front of us. And as the game got late, somehow we all got spread out where I was like on the aisle seat, and then by that time I was in the aisle. I wasn't by my seat. Vinny was by my seat, and I was out in the aisle, and he was getting on my case. So I would like run down a stair and run over the side every time something was happening. And he's like, we're not anywhere by our seats anymore. I'm like, yeah, that's all right. Because I was like, yes, I was so pumped, and we were just screaming. My voice was sore yesterday because from screaming for 3 straight hours. So it was that play, win or lose. If they win, that's going to go down as it's got to be one of the 3 best blocks in finals history, at least of the last 30 years.
And Ben's guy, Chris Middleton, man, way back when, Ben was a Chris Middleton guy, even before people really kind of knew who he was and stuff. Remember that game we went to, like, I don't know, was it 5 years ago, 6 years ago? I think they scored a total of 84 points.
But Chris Middleton had 35 or something.
Yeah.
He's the only guy who can score.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not a huge Middleton fan. I never was. It's just I've gone to 2 games in the last 6 years. And one of them, Chris Middleton scored a lot of points. And the other one, Giannis got fouled or something, and they didn't call it, and he got mad. And after that, he went on a crazy dunk fest. You guys were there, remember? And Giannis went nuts dunking everything. So
that's when he starts mean mugging all the time too.
Yeah, and that's awesome. But I was just going to say, that this win was legitimate because even Skip Bayless could not deny he had no ill will or ill anything bad to say about the Bucks. Now, He had a lot of bad things to say about Chris Paul in his play, and all of his turnovers that he had, and the fact that he couldn't shoot worth a darn. But the only thing he did say was he said that Giannis's block was like a 4 out of 10 because he said it was a terrible lob and blah blah blah, and then whatever. But Skip's he's an idiot, so that's fine. But what I'm just saying is, even he couldn't deny the fact that the Bucks got that win. Now, had something else happened and the Bucks not gotten the win, Nico, can you tell me this? Would there have been like a lot of throwing of things at the refs after Booker's 6th, 7th, and 8th fouls were not called?
There was a really bad refs you suck chant going on for a while. When I think Crowder had a 3-pointer where he got fouled, and then I think it was that one, but they weren't going with the BS chant, but it was just a refs you suck, and I was like, man, if I had 20,000 people screaming at me that I suck, that wouldn't feel great. But and there probably was a few bailout calls too, where it's like, I think there was one call I saw where there was a no call on the Suns, and the next time down the court, the ball was like probably off the Bucks, but they said it was the Bucks ball, and I was like, okay, you guys are.
Yeah, well, they do it all the time.
Trying to even it out a little
That's
bit.
the NBA. They do it all the time.
Yeah, so there was a couple evening out calls on both ways, but those two, Booker actually had 3 after he had 5 fouls. There's no excuse for him. I mean, you can call a lot of things, but you got to call it when the guy tries to do it like that. But the Bucks got the win, so that was good. There was as we were leaving, everybody was high-fiving, screaming. There was the Bucks and 6, Bucks and 6, Bucks and 6. Going outside, you go through the Deer District out there. Everybody's going crazy. Even getting to our cars, people are honking their horns, people are screaming, everybody's going nuts. It was just me and my son, so we just got out of there as quick as we could. So try not get too much traffic. Ben, he had to work in the morning, so that we had to get him back home so he could go to bed. But I told him, hey, you're gonna get 5 hours of sleep tonight. But yeah, that's a memory he said it was the most fun he ever had, just about.
Man, what an awesome experience with your son, man. That's awesome.
That's what it's all about. That's why we love sports, right?
Dang. That's here's the one thing, guys. I'll just tell everybody that watches this show. Is like, when I think of Bucks fans and the people I know, this is it. Like this triangle of people. Now, Rick's a good Bucks fan too. Now, actually, my first Bucks game I ever went to, I went with Rick. The team was terrible. The only good player they had at the time was Vin Baker, and they also had that year. They had Squirm and Douglas as their point guard. He had like 15 turnovers in that game that we went to. And it was horrible. And Vin Baker was awesome, but everybody else really stunk, and they lost, or they scored like 80 points or whatever it was. But that was my first Bucks game that I attended. But back in the 80s, I was telling my kids this story. I was like, guys, because I was trying to tell them, they're like, Dad, why are you so excited about the Bucks? And what is all, my kids don't really get into sports and all that. But I started telling them, I'm like, look, I was born in 1976. The Bucks have not been in the finals since 1974. They haven't won the finals since. And then I asked my kids, I made them do the math. I'm like, how many years ago was that? And then Sophia gave me 47. And then I was like, okay. And then they haven't won the finals since 1971. And then Evan jumped on that one quick. He's like, oh, 50 years. I'm like, oh, you took the easy one, huh? Okay, great.
Smart.
Anyway, yeah. but then I told him, I'm like, back in the 80s, the Bucks were pretty good. And that's when I grew up. Now I love basketball. And I had a little Bucks rim on the back of my door, and I had a little Nerf ball, and I'd pretend to be, Larry Kristoviak, and I pretend to be this guy, Jack Sikma, and I pretend to be, and I even pretend to be Jay Humphreys, and I pretend to be like, even during the lean years, I pretended to be Fred Roberts when I was making shots or dunking on my basket in my room. And I listened to Bucks games on the radio and all this stuff.
What about Brad Lohaus shooting threes? And they made it. And remember in NBA Jam, Brad Lohaus was 6'11", but in NBA Jam they made him 5'11" for some reason. It was the weirdest thing.
Because he's a 3-point shooter.
I know, but he was 6'11" 3-point shooter, not a 5'11" 3-point shooter.
He was a 2020 big man back in 1990, whatever it was, 91 or whatever it was. Anyway,
Edwards.
Right, Blue Edwards. So we had some lean years with the Bucks. Then we had some good players. Vin Baker, the team stunk. They were good in the 80s. I told the kids, I'm like, they'd always make the playoffs, but then they lose right away in the playoffs, right? That's what always happened. And then Then we got to the Ray Allen big dog years, and all of a sudden Tim Thomas in there, all this sort of stuff, and that team could have done it. Could have done it in 01 if they didn't get jobbed, right? But the league
Scotty
was like,
Williams got screwed.
The league was scared because they wanted the Lakers to win, and they're like, "Ooh, the Bucks could beat the Lakers. We can't let that happen."
The Bucks beat the Lakers that season both times.
Because that
was the game where Tim Thomas had 8 3-pointers.
Matchup wasn't good for the Lakers against the Bucks.
Nope, it was not.
But against the Sixers, they're like, "Oh yeah, they could beat those guys, no problem." So they helped them. So in 2001, last serious threat the Bucks had up until a couple of years ago. We were all going crazy. And back in college in the late 90s, we were all like, we'd apologize to people when we had a concert on the same night as a Bucks game. We're like, "Oh, we're sorry, guys, you came to our concert. We're missing the Bucks game. Dang it!" I remember doing that sometimes too.
But that's the only guy who cared was Nico. He's the only guy who actually.
That's because that's back in like 98, 99, they'd get one game on national TV on TNT. But holy smokes, we have to have a party because the Bucks are actually on a televised national game.
And all that happened, and we went through all that stuff, and then it was then they dismantled the team. That was good, and then it was trash for years and years and years, and now look at this. Right now, it's oh man. I mean, they're there. They have a chance. They're on the cusp. It's 2-2 in the finals. I didn't know if I'd see it. Nick told me last year, Ben. He's like, I just want to see the Bucks win a championship before I die in my lifetime. That's all he wanted for the rest of his life. Because we were talking philosophically about what do we want out of the rest of our life, and he's like, one thing I want is that just the Bucks to win a title before I go.
That'd be so much fun. The city would go crazy. There'd be parades, and there's going to be people screaming and having fun, and it's good for the city because all those bars and restaurants down there, they're just getting tons of business. We got Vinny, you got that new shirt. We got Vinny a new shirt a week ago, and the guy was just talking about how that the sporting goods store was and it wasn't like a big national chain or anything. We went to a smaller place, and he's like, it's so awesome that people are buying shirts and getting back out there and getting stuff. He's like, it's been so good for like the local businesses to have a good team. Everybody's got 18 Packer shirts, but not everybody has a Buck shirt. So even the bandwagon fans are good for the economy.
So Horn's good for something. Okay.
Bernard brings up, because Skip always hates on Wisconsin sports, and so does Cowherd and some of these national guys. And the other people who were talking about Molly Quirham, who was the one who it wasn't Stephen A. Stephen A. got the flack because he came to Milwaukee about the terrible city comment, but it was actually Molly Quirham who said it was a terrible city. Stephen A. just said it was cold. Now, Bernard says why everybody hates on Wisconsin sports. I will tell you this about Wisconsin sports. Wisconsin sports fans are loyal for the most part, but when you get a winner, they go nuts. They will come out like crazy. And that doesn't happen everywhere. There's teams in LA, Florida, whatever, that have winners all the time, and the fans are kind of like, okay, that's nice. But in Wisconsin, you bring a winner to Wisconsin, holy crap, they go crazy for it.
Yep, no doubt.
Man.
Because we got nothing else.
Look, man, and we're doing and we often do it the right way too. Like, look at this team. I love this team. I love the guys on this team.
Yep.
They're awesome guys. I mean, Chris Middleton is a freaking monster, superstar, and he's super humble and doesn't give a crap. He doesn't want more money. He doesn't want the limelight. He doesn't want all this other stuff. He just wants to win. And Giannis is an awesome dude. I love Super Pat. My man Brooke, I got lots of love for him. I like Holiday too a lot. I love Holiday's demeanor. I just wish he made a few more layups. But he does other stuff that's good. PJ Tucker's a little edgy. The Bucks need some of that. Portis, a little energy guy. They need some of that. I love this team. I love it.
Me too.
Awesome guys.
Teague's been coming in and holding down the fort pretty good when he's in there too.
Yep.
He doesn't turn the ball over. He makes good decisions. His defense is halfway decent. I think it's good that they're playing him. What they need to do though is they got to play Portis on the road too. Can't just play it. They can't just play him at Pfizer Forum. They got to play him, on Saturday night because He's the energy guy. You know? Sometimes he gets a little too emotional and it takes him out of the game. Like he could do something dumb. And that does happen. I've seen him do that, but you need him out there. Just to spare some guys once in a while, you know, especially when the Suns go to the small lineup, because Brook is awesome, but his feet are too slow to stick with those guys. Where Portis can at least sort of stick with them, also still get the rebounds, make shots, run around, do stuff. So it's a good group of guys. It's just they got to find the right mix, and Holiday's got to start hitting some shots.
Or just take less. And like I said,
or take less, yeah.
The Bucks have a distinct advantage when they have two bigs on the floor. So that can be Lopez and Giannis, and then what you need to still have that other big, because if it's Tucker trying to get the offensive rebounds, it doesn't go as great. Pat can get a lot of offensive rebounds, but he can't do putbacks in there because he's surrounded by a whole bunch of guys. So having two bigs in the game is a distinct advantage for the Bucks for sure. For sure. There's one other interesting note that I have about this last game. I don't know if anybody knows this. Does anybody know who had the highest? Now, this was a closer game, right? This wasn't a game where, in blowout games or wins where you have the lead a whole bunch of the time or whatever, like game 3. It's easy to have a good plus minus for guys. Do you know who had the best plus minus in game 4 for the Bucks?
It was a Big Pat.
It was Super Pat. It was Super Pat, and by a lot. Most of the other guys plus minus was not very much. He was plus 21 in 32 minutes. Super Pat, who does all the right stuff. Hustle plays, rebounds, make shots. He doesn't have to be just a three-point shooter, but that's what his role on the team is most of the time. And Super Pat had a plus 21 in a game where a bunch of guys did not have that good plus minuses.
There's one problem though. When he's on the road, he gets screwed by the refs.
Well, yeah,
constantly.
He
breathes on a guy, they call foul on him.
He follows people with his face. He follows people with his, his member parts, his man parts. Apparently, that's a foul on him when someone knees him in the. You didn't see that one, Ben?
I don't want to see that.
In the Eastern Conference Finals, he apparently fouled some guy with his.
Here's my question.
Got knee in the.
So Nico, just so you know, they don't have the free app for ABC, ESPN,
that's just
which
TNT.
Sucks. So I had to get YouTube TV free trial for 2 weeks because they're like, watch the NBA Finals and get two free weeks of YouTube TV. Well, that's great, except the stupid NBA decided to make it last 3 weeks.
Oh.
So I am going to have to pay $70 to watch Game 6 and or 7 if the Bucks win on tomorrow night. Is that worth it? Is it worth me to pay $70 if the Bucks win? I think it is. If they lose, I think I'm not gonna.
Go get one of those antennas for $20. You can get ABC on that.
I have an antenna, it never works.
There's one other option for you. I don't know if it'd probably be money wise about the same, but maybe not.
Go to Buffalo Wild Wings and spend $70.
You get good companionship and a good meal. You go to Nichols for game 6. Drive over. If it's a clinch game for the Bucks at home, I mean, Nico's probably going to go to the Deer District, but we could hang out at his house. He gets the game. I don't care that's on a Tuesday night. God dang it, NBA. What the hell schedule is this? Why do you got so many games on weeknights that are super important? Come on.
Why is it every third day? It's like, come on. They're dragging this crap out. And don't they want to start the next regular season on time? It's going to be like 2 months, and all of a sudden the NBA is back again. It's like, this is dumb. I mean, come on. Anyways, whatever.
Tuesday is a super important game, either way, because it's either elimination game or clinch game.
Bucks in 6. Bucks in 6. Bucks in 6.
Bernard says Bucks are good. Bernard says Bucks are going to win game 5, 118 to 113.
That's a good call. I can see that. Then it would be at home dropping the confetti.
Oh my God. That would be that would be the ultimate. Like it's great if they win it no matter what, but can you imagine if they won it in Milwaukee versus?
We've been saying Bucks in 6 since we got swept in the first round of the playoffs. So if we get to say Bucks in 6 for the NBA title, that would be amazing.
Oh, all right. That's all the Bucks talk I got for tonight. Ben, you got any Packer stuff? Nope. All right, let's call it a night. Dude, the Bucks are awesome. Unless Bernard's got one Packer thing, Ben and I can address it. Nico, you're the man. I'm so glad you were there with Vinny. That's awesome, man.
That was good times.
Man.
If the Bucks want me to come to Game 6, just send me a couple tickets, and I'll be happy to be the good luck charm.
Are you going to tell us how much those tickets were?
I'll tell you.
How much was it? I heard standing room only was like $400.
Yeah, they were expensive.
You can't put a price on awesome like experiences.
If I was guaranteed they're going to win, I'd have paid twice the price.
Man, they made you sweat it out. And they
I got a hamburger, a hot dog, a Sprite, a Coke, and a water, and I think that was $65. So that's how much. I'll tell you how much our supper was that night. $65.
Oh man! All right, that's it. We're not even gonna talk about Packers tonight. That's fine by me. Packers, we'll get to it. That's coming up later.
Sorry, Bernard.
Nico, thanks, man. Thanks for bringing the perspective.
Bucks in 6.
Oh my God, that would be so awesome. All right, you guys stay well. Take care. Be good. And next week we'll probably. I don't know. Actually, if it goes to Game 7 and the Bucks have to win on Thursday night, we'll probably talk Bucks again. But we'll see. Go Mango, go Bucks.